Hey guys, what's up? Back for another little episode. So, wanted to give you some background information on how the entire system works. If you get to see behind the screen, behind the curtain, through the veil, you'll kind of get a better understanding of how the entire game works. At the end of the day, this game of life is easier if you have the cheat codes. If you know who developed the game and what they used on the back end, and you understand how they built this, it'll make it a lot easier for you to navigate through this life. As it comes to Judaism, the more you know, the easier it is. And the reason is because practically your knowledge can affect your actions. It changes what your heart desires. The more you understand, the easier it is to want to do things. And like I said earlier, the entire premise of this whole series is that the end goal is action. Because without action, it's all meaningless. Just knowing Torah is great, but unless it leads you towards something, you're sort of missing the point. So I just want to give you some background information into the system. We know that Hashem created the world. If you read Bereshis, it says very clearly, what he said, what was created, a result, cause and effect. What you don't see is everything in between. Meaning, Hashem says, there's going to be light, boom, light shows up, right? But what is that process really like? And this end result of this world, what is going on behind the scenes? So, for this physical world to exist, there had to have been a chain-like descent, because Hashem is up here and he's infinite, right? And we're all the way down here. Now, to get from here to here, something has to flow, right? If there's a water slide, if the light of the sun, for example, shines over here, it has to come from the sun. Now, we don't feel the same amount of light that the sun gives off all the way when you're back in the sun. But we do get some rays down here, and we get to enjoy the heat and the warmth and the light. But if we were so close to the sun, we would all burn up. So the sun, Hashem put the sun so far away so that by the time it came down to us, we could actually enjoy it. So too by creation. Every single thing that Hashem created here had to go through a descent, meaning it had to be so far removed from its original source, which is Hashem's infinite light, that we are able to actually enjoy some of it. So everything that we see here that Hashem created in Bereshis had to go through this chain-like descent. That chain-like descent is referred to as Seder Hishtalshalus, which is also known as the order of contraction. And what did Hashem do? Let's think of Hashem as the sun for a minute. Hashem said, I want there to be rays of light very far away. So I have to create a distance. So Hashem's infinite light is all the way at the top, but it's too bright for us. So he created 4 worlds, 4 spiritual worlds. Atzilus, Bria, Yetzira, and Asiya. And that's from top to bottom. Within each world, he created 10 spheres that the light travels through. And so every world that gets lower than the world previous, and every sphere that's lower than the previous sphere, has less and less light, because there's a curtain or a veil or a screen that prevents all the light from coming through. So on a very basic level, and obviously there's more than this, if you had 40 veils from the sun to here, the light would be so dim down here that you wouldn't even be able to tell that it originated in the sun, unless you had a Emunah where someone told you that that was the case, and you could convince yourself that that's the case, i.e., we're down here and we can't see Hashem and that he created all the worlds, but we're able to believe that that's true, because the resemblance of the light down here doesn't look anything like it did in the source. So Hashem created this system of contraction where he says, okay, if I'm a big flooded ocean of water and I want you to just get a little drop, I'm going to have to put a dam after a dam after a dam after a dam, so that by the time it comes down here, there's only going to be this much left. But it's still the same water that started all the way in the beginning of the ocean. It's just, you're just going to get a little bit of a drop. And you're so far away from the origin that you can't even tell that you stemmed back in the ocean. So via these four worlds, Atzilus, Bria, Yetzirah, and Asiya, and the 10 spheres within each world, you basically have a way to filter Hashem's light all the way down here. So when he created all of those things in this world, he basically said, okay, I'm going to shine my infinite light into the highest sphere of the highest world. So let's say Chokhmah, which is the first sphere, of Atzilus, which is the highest world. And from there, it's going to get cut out a little bit every single time, and all the way until it gets down to us, where when Hashem says, let there be light, Veyehi Or, we see the end result, which is that there's light here. But that doesn't mean that it didn't go through that whole phase of getting here. Just like if you order a package on Amazon, you're going to order your package, 3 days later it shows up. You don't see the chain of logistics that had to go from top to bottom just to get you the package. All you see is that you ordered it and it showed up. You don't see all the background work of the drivers and the warehouse and the shipping company and the barcoding and everything else that had to happen. That doesn't mean that it didn't happen, though. So now you have an understanding, in summary, in short, and I'll go into more detail later on, of basically how this entire system was created. Why is this important? You will see as we go further along. However, it's important to know that everything that happens here stems somewhere else, and that there are spiritual worlds in the background, and that we're just here at the tail end of it, at the end of the chain. Meaning the things that we do here are a result of what happens up top, the things that we receive here, and the things that we do actually have a way to affect those higher worlds because they all correspond to each other. So in the next video, I'll go over that in more detail. Also, just want to give a little bit of disclaimer here for anyone who's wondering, hey, this guy's not a rabbi. What does he know? Why am I listening to him? I don't believe in his ideas. Let me just make it clear that these are not my ideas. These are all just compilation of sources from Torah, Gemara, Mishnah, Hasidic leaders, and their works. So none of this is mine. I'm just the messenger. All right, guys. See you in the next one. If you have any questions, feel free to post them.